Hello, I'm Gloria Church, a work service student at the National Center for Preservation, Technology, and Training.
Caroline Dormon is an amazing woman scientist from Louisiana. She's a botanist, artist, author, nature conservator, and a woman pioneer for many different subjects. So, who was Caroline Dormon? Caroline Dormon was born at Briarwood in Saline, Louisiana on July 19, 1888. So, Briarwood was her family vacation home. She later in her life converted Briarwood to a nature preserve, which is now open to the public. Dormon passed away November 21, 1971, and was buried down the street from her home in Briarwood Cemetery. She graduated from Judson University with an art degree. She has an honorary doctorate from Louisiana State University in horticulture and botany, so technically it's Dr. Dormon. She's the author and illustrator of 6 books. Most of her books are about Louisiana wildlife, such as birds and plants, and a couple of her books are about the caddo. She's the first woman to work for the National Forest and took part in establishing Kisatchie National Forest. Kisatchie is considered her biggest contribution to the state, as Kisatchie is the only national forest in Louisiana. To help, she wrote big businessmen in the timber and lumber industry and begged them and asked them to see the beauty of the longleaf pines and to buy this land in order to donate it to the National Forest so their generations to come can have a place to go. Therefore, we got Kisatchie National Forest. Thank you, Dormon. Flora and fauna. Dormon documented nature at Briarwood and other wildlife that's native to Louisiana. She documented and wrote her books about all the wildlife and specifically the irises. So her biggest special interest is Louisiana wild irises. There were purple or blue and other cool colors. She knew red and yellow ones existed, but they have been documented and observed before. So she worked with these wild native irises to observe and domesticate them. To domesticate them, she put them in different environments and tested different types of soil they worked in, how much sunlight they needed, the amount of water, and so on, so people could plant them in their gardens. Her work was published in club journals and gardening papers. She was a pretty big deal for clubs and gardening clubs at the time. She was published quite often. So, Dormon was also a nature conservator. She's considered the first Louisiana nature conservator. So what is a nature conservator? A nature conservator is one who protects wildlife to keep it native. So, native plants are plants that are local and originally from the area. So we're not taking plants from India and bringing them in and planting them in our garden because those aren't native. So we take plants like the wild iris that's native to Louisiana and plant it instead. So she worked as a landscaper and used these means to plant native wildlife. Dormon also worked for Huey P. Long on the Highway Commission Beautification Project, where she preserved native plants along the highway. So off to the side, see this sign right here says Wildlife Area. This is a sign in my town, right down the center of the highway median, saying that that area is wildlife area, wildflower area. So all the flowers that bloom during the spring are all native to Louisiana. Dormon took a big part in doing this when she worked in the Highway Commission Beautification Project. So these signs and areas that are devoted to wildflowers is all thanks to Dormon. As you can see, this area is cut and it's dying in some patches. A lot of areas in Louisiana have turned to that. So I encourage you to look for these areas and convince your hometowns to preserve their backyards. Okay. While she worked for the state's highway beautification consultant, she spread the needed plants along newly developed highways to prevent erosion. So just like on this highway, there's trees and bushes planted in the background. Dorn understood that if you cut all those trees, all those bushes down, and we just had dirt, there was no grass yet, then all of that dirt is just going to wash away. It's just going to be flat. You're going to lose all of it. And the highways will flood after that, and it's just not good for the highways. So she, as a consultant, planted the correct bushes and trees that would hold the dirt in with their roots to prevent this erosion. Mapping out the DeSoto route. So Hernandez de Soto is a famous explorer who came to North America, went through Mexico and to the southern states and out to some of the western states. And President Franklin D. Roosevelt decided to appoint a commission to map out the expedition he took in the United States, which is now the current United States. Dormon was appointed to sit on this commission. She is the only woman out of 5. Yay! And she also is representative of Louisiana. So she's specifically the person that is there to map out his expedition through Louisiana. She's recommended for the council because of her knowledge of Native American history and her ways of archaeology. Dormon was known to collect Native American baskets, arrowheads, spearheads, and had a way with the Caddo language. She's considered an anthropologist for her linguistic knowledge about the Caddo language. And she's also celebrated for her contributions in archaeology. She is one of the main reasons we have big name archaeologists coming into Louisiana at the time. She helped map out waterway routes that DeSoto would have taken. So here's the river he would have taken, here's another river he might have gone down, this runoff, those kind of waterways. She also produced theories that the current river paths have changed since DeSoto took his original route. So, as water moves, it expands the land, dams are built, water changes over time. And a few hundred years ago, Dormon knew that a few hundred years ago, the water path would not have been the same as it was in the 30s. She produced the theory that that's not exactly the original route and that it would have been a little bit different, having to compensate for time and changing land. Alright, well that's it. One last thing, this picture in the background is Briarwood. This is Dormon's home and now Briarwood Nature Preserve. Yeah, so as you go today, know that Dormon was an amazing woman who did a lot for Louisiana nature and wildlife. She helped with botany, and she's just an amazing woman pioneer who set a path for women in the national forest industry, to sit on commissions, even if you're from small town places and you're a woman, which wouldn't have been very popular at the time. So, yeah, Caroline Dormon.